We'll see why in a second. All right, so let's say you lead the 10. And here comes the king. Are you now suspicious?
Yes.
Because the king got quickly, well, even if they played in, hopefully they're playing in tempo, hopefully the king didn't, wasn't just ejected from the hand so quickly that, that it looked like the singleton that it is, right? We always want to play in tempo, but, all right. But if I play the 10 and the king appears, now I'm like, I didn't play the queen, I didn't play the jack, I played the 10. Why did they cover? Because it's a situation where covering is not something you would do automatically. Well, what Ivaska says is, here's what happened. So they played the 10 because they didn't want to induce a cover, and the king appeared anyhow. So after winning the ace and dummy, what did they do? They finessed the 7. And sure enough, they got the position right. And they did not have a trump loser. Now, what if they play small and this person splits the 9-8 so that the 7 doesn't work? That's fine. Now you win your queen or jack, and as long as you can get back over here to the dummy, you just repeat the finesse, right? Now this, and now you put in the 7 if you don't see the 9. If you do see the 9, now you cover with your other big honor and you've picked up the suit. So the upshot was you had to take you had to take 2 finesses on this hand to get the suit right? You were when you led the 10 out of hand, you were taking a finesse. You were playing for something, a more normal break. King X or King 3rd on side, something like that. Because we figure, 2/3 of the time the suit's going to split 3-2, right? Not 4-1. So while nothing here is guaranteed, what we want you to see here is that declare you do have a little bit of control. And there's another saying that kind of goes along with the cover and honor with an honor. And this is something that Zio is always very fond of saying, which is, if they don't cover, they don't have it. Have you heard that one? If you lead an honor and it doesn't get covered, they don't have it.
It doesn't work out all the time.
No, it doesn't work out all the time. A good player will smoothly play in tempo and not cover when they realize that there's no benefit to covering. But let's take a position like this. Now this is something that has come up for us in the past, one way or another. In fact, it came up, actually we had an example hand where this would have come into play, talking about the end play and avoiding having to even attack this suit. But we've mentioned the two-way finesse. One of your opponents has the queen. You have everything else in the suit that matters, and most importantly, your ace and your king, the cards that might cover that queen so that it's not a winner, are in different hands. So there are 2 ways you could take the finesse, right? You play the jack from up here and let it ride, jack or 10, since they're equals, right? Or you could play the 9 or 8 from this hand and let it ride. Well, how do you know what to do?
Is it a red suit or a black suit?
Very Crane? Yes. Actually, this will probably, I think this will probably work better if the jack and 10 are in separate hands. And actually, we'll give you king 10, 9 here. Let's split them up that way. So what you might do in a situation like this, and again, pure guess, right? You have nothing to work with. You have no information to work with. Either opponent equally likely to hold the king. Nothing has been revealed on this hand. Nobody else bid. We don't know where any missing high card lines are. All right. Well, what about if you're over here in the dummy? What if you call for the jack and see if it gets covered? You play the jack and your right-hand opponent plays small. Well, a lot of times, what is a good idea to do there Win your king, and now run the 10 from your hand. Why? They didn't cover, they don't have it. You know where the 10 is. Your right-hand opponent does not. And so if your right-hand opponent cannot see the 10, which hopefully they can't since it's in your hand, in the closed hand, it's proper for them to cover in case you are trying to pull a fast one here and run the jack without the 10. Yeah, what if the 10 is over here? Because that could be the position as far as East is concerned here, right? So the idea is that if you play the jack and they don't follow the old cover and honor with an honor that you're supposed to do, then go ahead and rise up with the king because they probably don't have the queen. So that's where Zia gets that. I don't know if he was the first one to popularize that saying, but yeah, if you ever hear that, oh, they don't cover, they don't have it. Now that's not always true, but maybe they thought you were trying to pull a fast one and you smoothly did not cover to see if they would go wrong and overtake the king and finesse into your queen. So these are just a couple of basics on just to kind of illustrate, you know, a little bit of control that you have as declared. What we want to do is now look at more full examples, full hand examples, where your contract is in trouble and there's not, and there may not be any legitimate way to make the hand. Although legitimate is in quotation marks because missed defense is still legitimate, right? It's not like you cheated. The defense just messed up. So that's what we're going to look at. So let's start with a 3-note trump hand. And we'll try and keep you in pretty normal contracts here, so that hopefully you're not asking the question, well, why am I even in this contract? So that is the case here. I think you certainly belong in 3-no. You don't have an 8-card major fit. The high card points are there. Unfortunately for you, the opening lead is a small heart, probably 4th best heart. And as you can see, you've got a little bit of a problem and no trump in that suit, don't you? Because dummy has 2 little hearts and you have ace-jack, but it's ace-jack doubleton. Which means that unless the opening leader has led from king-queen, which is possible, could be 4th best from king-queen, you're only going to have 1 heart stopper, right? So you get this heart lead and you play small from dummy, and your right-hand opponent puts up the queen. All right, well, that's unfortunate. You were hoping both honors were on your left and that you'd score your jack and still have your ace intact, but that is not the case here. Well, we're in no trump, so what we want to do is count winners, right? So we need to get to 9 winners. Where are tricks coming from?
Diamonds. Once the ace.
All right. So we have all the diamonds except for the ace. Is there any way that we are taking 9 tricks without diamonds?
No.
Not on this hand, unfortunately. There's 3 club winners. There's the top two spades. There's the ace of hearts. That's 6 tricks. We have zero chance. None of the we don't have. We only have 3 clubs in each hand. And you don't even have the 10 or 9 of spades, so there's really no possibility.
The only way you can do it is the ace is in the right hand, and they only have 2 hearts, because then they can't lead back.
All right, so you are thinking that you're going to duck the opening lead. All right. Okay, so normally when we only have 1 stopper, and as soon as that queen appears, we only have 1 stopper, right? So the normal thing that we would do is we would do a hold-up play on our ace, right? We would not win our ace of hearts at trick 1. That way, we win the ace in the second round, and then we have to knock out the ace of diamonds because we have no choice. And we hope that the person who wins the ace of diamonds can't continue a heart.
There are 9 hearts out.
There are 9 hearts out. Now, I didn't give you an auction, so we don't know if the opponents bid at all. But let's say this was an uncontested auction and the opponents passed throughout.
They had 7 hearts.
Do you think that one opponent had 7 hearts
No.
and didn't mention them? That's pretty unlikely. So if you think that by holding up the ace that you're going to cut off communication between the defender's hands,
No.
that's highly unlikely. I mean, yeah, maybe they had 7 hearts to the king, and they were vulnerable, and they didn't, and the suit was kind of lousy, and so they chose not to preempt. But that's pretty unlikely. All right. Now let me also ask you this: if you don't win the first heart, from your hand, what does that mean gets played under the queen? The jack, right? Do you think the opponents aren't going to know what's going on here?
Yeah.
This person over here is going to win the queen and see your jack.
Mm-hmm.
And so, since you didn't cover the queen, they'll know you didn't have the king. Presumably you showed a balanced hand, so they probably won't take you for a singleton jack. But this is going to look like an awful lot like ace-jack doubleton. And so they're just going to automatically return partner's suit and knock out the ace, and the position's going to be given away. And then as soon as you give up the lead with the ace of diamonds, here come all the hearts. So I actually don't think you should duck here. I don't think it's going to help you. Ace third, yeah, of course you want to duck. Because, you know, a 6-3 split in the suit, or, well, ace third, the opponents would only have 8 hearts. And then a 5-3 split, that's a lot more realistic. You might actually be able to cut off the defenders.
Right.
So, now, of course, we still have to go back to one thing. You still have to knock out that ace of diamonds, and you still need it in the right hand. So this is a situation where I would not duck. In fact, win the ace of hearts like you don't have a care in the world, like the opponents haven't scared you one bit with this lead.
Yeah, you've got the
Don't even pause to think about it. Don't give anything away. You're gonna be smooth.
Smooth operator.
Pounce on that queen of hearts with your ace, like the opponents, you know, just gave you the most favorable lead they could have. All right. Now, you're still going to need some help. This is by no stretch guaranteed, but you're giving yourself the best chance. You got to get those diamonds set up, right? All right, so let's say since you're in your hand and the diamond length is in dummy, let's say you start playing honors from your hand. So go ahead and start with the king of diamonds.